welcome. Thanks for hanging out. If you're not watching live, thanks for watching this later. I'm sorry I can't answer your questions in live form, but if you throw anything in the comments, I'll be sure to respond to it. So I've spent the past 2 weeks trying to get into product videography. Not trying to get into it. That's a weird way of saying it, but trying to get good at it. I've watched so many videos by Daniel Schiffer and Austin Paul and others who make it look so easy. And it's been something that as I've looked at it, I look at that, I look at them doing it, I look at their tutorials, which I think are fantastic, and I say, hey, that is something that it seems like I could do. Not only are you walking me through it, but I have all the gear. I've got great lights, I've got great cameras, I've got turntables and backdrops and green screen. I've got all this stuff. I just haven't applied it thoughtfully yet. And so as I'm diving into this, and I want to explore it because not only do I find it interesting and fun to have that much control over a shot compared to a lot of what I do, which is more documentary style, it's a refreshing change of pace, but with that comes some growing pains. And so I wanted to get into it, and I was very happy that I got some free beer and hard seltzers from Four Hands Brewing Company and Modern Brewing Company here in St. Louis, who I've worked with Four Hands before, and I'm friends with people at Modern. And so it was a nice trade of, hey, I'm messing with this stuff. I'm not promising anything. It might be awful, but if you give me some beer, I'll mess around with your stuff instead of a can of generic sparkling water or something like that. So that's what we're going to get into tonight. Let me tweak this a little bit here, get rid of my name. I'm Sean, if you weren't aware of that. And I'm going to share my screen. If I can do that. Window, Chrome tab, entire screen. I'm going to share my entire screen. Does this work? Yeah, great. So if this isn't working, please let me know. I have to switch back and forth to the chat. So we'll see how this goes. But what does the layout look like? Okay, I'm there. I'm going to move me to there. Exciting. So I approached this in 3 waves. I first got a bunch of footage, screen caps, and then I did a second take where I shot a bunch of stuff of the Four Hands can on a green screen. And then as I wanted to do some stuff with this Modern brewery can, the problem is it's a green can, and you can't put a green can on a green screen. So I was limited to doing everything on black, and I saw Daniel Schiffer does a video that he does everything on black, and I followed this thing to the T, and I just could not come up with a bunch of footage that I liked. But I put it together and I shot it's a Citra, so that this Modern brewery Citropolis is a Citra hopped IPA. And if you're like me, you have no idea what that means. But if you're not like me, you may know that it has some notes that are similar to citrus flavors without actually having any fruit or fruit juice or concentrate or extract in the beer. It's all just from the hops. But there's notes of pineapple and grapefruit and other things. And so I mistakenly took some time to shoot some pineapples and some grapefruit in some different ways. And all these shots, like I've got it on a turntable spinning around so that I can mess with it. And then I made this take of it here where you've got a can sort of zooming in, and then we see pineapple, and we get these pineapple words all over the screen. So I wanted it to be this like hoppy, pun intended. No, this like excited, high energy. We see some grapefruit, we see some pineapple, and these things are rotating on the screen. I duplicated them and masked them and did my best. And then I showed it to the brewery, and he's like, oh no, we don't actually use pineapple or grapefruit in the beer. It's just sort of the essence of it. And man, I really beat people over the head with these messages. So back to the drawing board, and we were going to shoot with some hops and stuff, and it just proved to be too cumbersome. And so we wanted to step back and do things a little simply. So we did 2 things. Let me hop over here for a second, just making sure if there's any comments that I'm seeing them. So we did 2 things. I bought a blue screen and we shot some stuff on a blue screen. Where's my finale event? So shot the can on the blue screen, which gives us a lot more latitude to actually edit with this over the green screen or even a black screen, because now we can actually key out the can really well and play with it that way, and we will. But then the other thing that I did was, let me see if this will open here. I'm going to bare my soul to you all. Hang on, I have to unshare my screen for just a second as I pull this up just to make sure I'm not giving away the world. All right, add this back. So this can here, I had a Fiverr gig. I sent a bunch of photos of the can, and they sent back this 3D model of the can. And it took a couple iterations to get it right, and it's not perfect. And to be honest, I think I paid $40, like $42 with Fiverr's service fee or whatever. So it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. And a lot of what looks lame here with like how flat this is the fact that it's a perfectly reflective surface, and in this preview app, it dumbs it down. And so it's a boring environment, but in Apple's Motion, I can use this USDZ file and keyframe it, manipulate it, spin it, and do stuff with a can that just cannot happen otherwise. And so tonight, I'm not going to mess with this piece of it because I'm in over my head with this piece of it, and I was messing with it a little bit and having a really hard time, and watching any of you stumble through that would not be fun for anyone. So we're sticking with the actual shots of an actual can. But so I got some of the modern can on the blue background. I still have all the shots on the black background. And then in addition, we shot a couple more things of can on a black backdrop with a piece of black acrylic underneath it. And so you get this natural reflection you can see there in that shot. And here I think I'm backed up too far. You can see the edge of the table there. And we want to do some pours and stuff so you could actually see this beer. And if you've ever done product shots with a beer before, you'll know that pours are tedious. But so our first pour was 100% foam. I'm sorry, that's about 96% foam. My apologies. But so a pretty unusable shot there. But once we filled it, then we could really get focused on where we wanted the bubbles to be, how this thing behaves. So you got to do the first one. Did the first one. Then the second one, this is where I switched the camera to 240 frames a second in 1080. And if this will play here, you'll see we get this gorgeous super slow-mo of what we want it to look like, of the cascading of the bubbles, the curtain of the foam, all these wonderful beer terms. And I had an aperture light directly behind it, which I liked at the time, and now that I'm looking at it, I feel like it's overkill until this point when it's just truly backlighting it. I feel like when you can see it through the cup, that's not the best. But that's how we got this shot. We went into 240, and I've got the whole shot of it. I don't think this part where it's just the foam sort of climbing up is worth anything, is worth including. And then we started doing some full screen beer pours with varying degrees of success with the head on it, and doing this push in on a slider. So this is an actual push in. This isn't faked in post, although I absolutely will be faking it. And you can see my lovely wife in the background helping pour the beers. And so I think the last pour we got is this one, which has just a little bit of foam on the top. But looking at the glass, the reason that we went with this one is because the logo on the glass is so high that any other take that has the foam sort of middle of the logo just sort of looked weird. And anything we did where it was like logo halfway in foam, I felt was distracting. And so I went with a maybe less ideal head, if you're a beer connoisseur, in favor of a good looking single shot of the illuminated beer with the head on the soda, with your hero shot here. So as I look at this, I do think that light in the background is a little hot here. I think I should have scooted it back a little bit maybe, but I didn't. But this is where we're at right now, and it's fun. Rebel Tech, reflection off that acrylic is awesome. Thanks, man. Yeah, I had done, let me pull up Modern Take 4. So this shot here, where's my hero shot at the end? So this is my original. Let me render this out so you can actually see it in real time. But this shot that I'm about to share shows the can like spinning and coming into frame, or coming up closer. It's this faked hero shot based on this can is just spinning on black, and I keyed out the rest of the black background to the best of my ability. Let me render that there. And just as a quick show, if I turn off on this clip, oh, that's all it's composited at this point. But you can see there's a little bit of reflection there, and that's fake reflection. And you can also tell because the can's sort of wobbling because it wasn't spinning perfectly centered. The reflection sort of wobbles unnaturally. I don't love that, and that probably should be, and then it stretches into that transition. But so this is what I was working with before. So pretty simple, and again, the feedback was it doesn't actually have pineapple or grapefruit in it, so let's go a different direction. So going to round 4, we reshot some of this stuff. Tried some stuff with blue light that I didn't love, but what we're going to mess with tonight is these shots here and putting it on the blue screen. I'm going to show you what I go through to try to make this happen. And if you've watched anyone else's videos on stuff like this probably won't be new to you, but I'm going to go through it in real time so you can see it and watch me. I would say watch and learn, but it's more like watch me learn. So I'm going to have a new timeline called Finale Tests, 23 frames a second, and I am going to take this rotation of the clip, and I already have an in and out point here, but what I try to do is have it start and stop at the same point in this rotation just so I can loop it. So here we have that silver stripe of can between the label front and center, and then we do a full spin, and then it ends at about the same spot. It's not exactly even, but we're going to pull that down here. And the first thing you'll notice is that when we're filming in hybrid log gamma 3, HLG 3, you can preview it fine because it knows to preview it like that, but my timeline is not in hybrid log gamma. So the first thing I do is come down to my color, and I have a preset in Final Cut Pro for Sony HLG 3 to Rec 709, and I can dump that on there, and then this is what it's supposed to look like. Then from here, I can punch up the color a little bit, and so that's what I'm going to do now, just so it looks pretty for us as we do this. But I'm going to pump up the oops, where you at? Pump up the exposure a little bit, bring down, give ourselves a little bit of contrast. And I know here in the waveforms that I'm peaking already, and that's this little kiss of highlight on the can, and I'm fine with that. There's going to be nothing I can do to fix that. But most of the can is here in this 25 to 50% range, which for this gray and green is right where I want it. Then we're going to punch up the saturation just a hair to make the whole thing come to life and be slightly easier to key. But I don't want to be so ridiculous that it looks neon or weird. I think that's even a little rough there. So there we go. Pretty. Now we're going to come down and we're going to key it. No, not yet. I'll be fine. We're just going to click here, and presto, it knew that we were trying to get rid of the blue. And the next thing I'm going to do is come out to my video properties and crop. And so you'll see there on the left, this is just cropping in. And actually, if I turn off the keyer, this will be easier to see. But basically, the first thing I'm doing is cropping so that we have just the can. And that means it's less to key. And I want to make sure that as this spins around, we don't leave my little crop area. Good. Now we can turn on our keyer, and we have this can pretty well isolated, floating in space there. The one thing that really needs to be fixed is there at the bottom, we have the little screw and bolt that's holding up the can. So I'm first going to just bring up the bottom crop a little bit, just so we've got that little piece there, which is going to make it easier to draw the mask. And then we're going to come to our masks and draw the mask. And to make this a little easier, I'm going to zoom in like crazy and come down to the bottom. And here I am at the beginning of the, so my playhead is here at the beginning of the clip, which is what I want because I'm going to end up animating this a little bit. And I'm going to do this, I could probably do this a lot smoother than I'm going to, but I'm not going to. I'm going to drag this here and now invert the mask. And there we go. So the next thing you do is you come here and I want to right click or control click, double finger click the transforms and the control points and add keyframes. And then I'm just going to go frame by frame here. And as soon as I can sort of see that I'm either cutting off the can with the mask, I'm just going to adjust a little bit. And then I'm going to keep going, spin it a little bit more. Looks like we're starting to cut into the can a little bit there. So bringing it down. And again, I could like curve this line and make it a little prettier. Instead, I'm just going to keep moving it a little faster. And hopefully when I crop this in the edit, it won't be that noticeable. So here it's starting to come back up a little bit. I want to bump it up accordingly. You can see I am about 10% of the way through this clip, but this is what this process is like. And it's just, there's no, well, I shouldn't say there's no easy way to do it. If I had painted that thing green, maybe it would have keyed out, or blue, it would have keyed out a little easier. But barring that, if you don't have a keyer, this is what the game looks like. And it's just about moving this stuff around, chasing it as it rotates, lather, rinse, repeat. So the nice thing is it sort of eases between these things. So anytime I move these, it's making a new keyframe over here, which will let it slide smoothly. So yeah, now it's exposed. I'm going to have to bring this over, but it's not going to be exposed on the clip before that because of, you can see I didn't animate each one of these frames, but it knows there's a keyframe from the last time I had said be here, and it knows to slide all the way out to stay on top of covering that little piece. So we're just going to let it keep rolling. Now the can's starting to move over there. We're going to adjust again, pull that down, pull that over, and around we go. And there it is, poking out again. So we're going all the way over. Bring this with it. And this is where cropping the bottom helps because there's going to be nothing down here to get in the way. But still going around. Still staying. All right, it's starting to come out a little bit over there. I'm going to bring that with it. And I'm going to slide this up a little bit. And up a little bit more as it goes around. Bring this up. I feel like somebody could come up with a decent piece of software that could track this a little bit better, and maybe the built-in object tracker would do this in some way if it knew what it was looking for. But until that point, this is what the process looks like. But once we do this, we don't have to do it again, which is really nice. We'll be able to manipulate this can in 100 different ways, and because we have a full rotation of a full-size can, we'll be able to sort of reuse this in a number of different ways. That's going to keep things like we'll be able to, because this is in 4K and it's the full can, we can zoom in on the label for a shot. We can zoom out and sort of put this thing far away from the camera. There's a lot we can do this one clip just from doing this one time. And I don't know why the footage is bouncing like that, but maybe I hit the camera or something. It's entirely likely. But we're almost to the end of the clip. It's creeping out a little bit more there. Bring that up. Yeah, there's a little jitter. I don't know if I could just use a stabilizer for that. Maybe bring this down, way down. And we're at the end of the clip. So let's go back out, fit this whole thing in. See if I tried blue-green tape on the mount. So I had sort of said this. I haven't yet. I need to. But the other thing is you got to light it under there. Like even if it's blue, it can be a little tough to see. And I wanted this sort of moody light at the bottom. And I didn't want to brightly illuminate the can, which I would have needed to do. But you can see if I unclick, I don't want to see the mask. Get out of here. So yeah, it's gone. I don't love how off axis it is as it spins, but I can fix that. Sort of find the part where it's furthest right and furthest left. And I'm just going to put a marker on the clip that's furthest left, and that's about furthest right. And that's pretty far right again. And if I then go to these parts in the clip, it can be tempting. And this is something that I haven't seen. I see Daniel Schiffer do the opposite here, and I'll show you what I do differently. But Daniel Schiffer would take this. He would say, hey, turn on the horizon so we can center this can. And he would say, set a keyframe for the position and position the can. But the problem is if I move the position and I rotate it, you can see it doesn't actually rotate on the center of the can. It's like the whole thing is a little off. And if I scale it, it also scales from that side. You can see it's like left of center, even though I've centered the can. So it's only really centered when it's at 100% if we do this. So I'm going to reset this parameter. And instead, I'm going to adjust my anchor point, which is counterintuitive. I'm going to slide this technically to the right. My anchor point is moving to the right, but what that's doing is sliding. I'm moving the center of the frame to the right, which makes it look like the frame is moving to the left. But if I move that center of the frame to the right and set a keyframe, then if I go forward to the next, go to this marker. If I come here and then set another keyframe and center my can again, and then go to the end of the clip and set one more keyframe. So now, as the can spins, it's resetting this anchor point a little bit. But now the can stays centered. And the nice thing about doing it this way is, again, at any point, if I rotate this can, it's now rotating around its actual center. And as I zoom in and out, it stays centered. And that's going to make all these other parts of the animation a lot easier. So that's why we reset that anchor point instead of resetting the position, because the anchor point is the point around which it scales and rotates. It is the point to which it is anchored. So now we've got this. This is looking pretty solid. We've got this full rotation, and I wonder if how close it is. If I can just duplicate this and bring it here. Okay, so there's a little. What I'm looking for is the loop point, and you can see sort of that label gets right on the green there. So I'm gonna chop this first clip and then fast forward the second clip to that label gets right on the green. Chop that, and so now we've got a can that this is resetting right here to a second clip, but it is seamless. And so now I can take. Well, I need to come back to the end of this clip and get to where that green is lined up. Trim it. So now I can duplicate this clip forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, and I have this endlessly rotating can on infinite nothingness. I'll take it. So now I'm going to take this whole thing and I'm going to put it inside a compound clip, or if you're using Premiere, I think they call it a nested clip. I don't know what they call it in DaVinci Resolve, but here in Final Cut, we're calling it a compound clip. And I'm going to call this keyed spinning can. So now I have this endless spinning can. You can see it sort of gets a little bigger and a little smaller, and I could feather the scale of that to keep it steady, but I'm going to be playing with this enough where hopefully that doesn't matter. I'm going to be zooming in and zooming out on it anyway, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But if I start this first shot with this rotation here, we'll go all the way around and back, and then I'll trim that. I want to take this and pull up my timing, and the first thing I'll do is come into custom, and I'm going to reverse it. And the reason I'm reversing it is, I'm actually going to slide it, but I was going to say the reason I'm reversing it is because I don't want to see that UPC. I want to end with this modern logo being revealed, but I'm going to switch that because it also makes sense to read from left to right. And so we're going to see the Modern Brewery logo first, and then we'll read this Citropolis. And yeah, we're going to see the UPC, but maybe we won't. Maybe we'll stop right there. But maybe I mean, yes, that's what we're doing. So this clip is now 14 seconds. And if we play this, it's a very slow rotating 14 seconds. And so the easy thing to do would be to take this and to speed it up and just say 8 times faster. Now we've got a 2-second clip of the can rotating, and that's still just a little lame. So we're going to add some stuff to it. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to speed ramp it instead. So I'm going to come out here and say Shift B, which just blades the speed. So I can take the opposite. Actually, I'm going to switch this. I'm going to Shift B it up here. And this latter part is what I'm going to speed up. And then this gray part here on the clip is where it's transitioning from normal speed to fast speed. And I'm going to take this normal speed and take this up to, we'll start with 2x and see how that looks. So we've got a little bit, and then we speed up as it makes it through. And this is playing back a little choppy because it's not rendered yet. But I'm actually going to come in and make this 300%. I think 400% is too fast. So we'll go 3x on it. And now that looks like this, which is kind of neat, but it still needs something. So we're going to select it, and we're going to start keyframing in some rotation and scale. And again, because we did the anchor point properly, this is all going to rotate wonderfully, or scale wonderfully. So I'm going to go just scale for this one. I'm going to add a keyframe. Where did I just add a keyframe? Let's go back to the beginning of the clip, add a keyframe, come to the end of the clip, add another keyframe. And for this one, I'm going to push in a little bit. And I can come to 200% without losing the 4K resolution on this 1080 timeline. But I think I'm just going to come to there. But now we get this can that's coming in like that and starts to spin, have a little bit of attitude to it, which is what we're looking for. It's not a glitch, it's a feature. I like that. So yeah, so now this looks so much better than the original green can spinning on a blue backdrop doing nothing, which is handy. But we need more. And so the next thing I'm going to do is go back to my library of footage. And even though, we're going to save that beer pour for the last shot. But before we get there, there's 2 things I want to do. One, because this label wraps around and you can't ever at any point read Citropolis as it fills the screen, that's going to cause me some headaches. So actually, first of all, because this is for social media, I'm going to come back to this. If you press Command J, it'll bring up your project properties. And I don't want this to be a normal 1080. I want this to be a square at 1080 by 1080. So I'm going to edit this project, and you'll see now, well, it's tough to see, but now it's a square. And I will take this clip and set it to fill. So we've got the same thing now, but it's a square form factor, which is great. Excuse me for 1 second. I'm going to let my dog out of my office. Stand by. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. So now, let me get rid of the bars there. You can see we've got black can and the green square, but again, we can't see Citropolis ever because it's on this round can. So I had Let's see if this is in here. Modern type. Where is... There's a big picture of me. Oh, I have to import this graphic real quick. Stand by. Modern Brewery logo. Where did you go? You're in my photos. Here we go. Now I have two versions of this. I'll show you. Photos. Okay. Let me share this again. So I have two versions of the logo. I have the official Adobe Illustrator. This is the actual graphic for the logo. The other thing I have is this, which is most of the logo, but you'll notice it's missing the UPC. And it's also a little grainy, it looks like. Pull this. Yeah, as we come in on this, that's going to be pretty gross. But this AI, if I can open this, yeah, this is what I'm going to need to use, even if I end up cropping it. And if I export, wait, first I'm going to tools. I can't adjust the size. That's fine. Let's go export as a PDF. How big will it let me make this? Citra IPA official. We're learning together. That's fun. Okay, Citra IPA official. Wow. Oh yeah, that's gorgeous. So there's our PDF, but it's huge. And I think in the program, crop out, like key out this white. Well, let's not talk about it. Let's go do it. So next up, I'm just going to drop this thing into the middle of our timeline. And what I want to do is sort of let this fill the space just a little bit so we can see it, and maybe put a little motion in it so we can see Citropolis happening all at once. And we might need to key out some of this stuff. And that might be... Actually, you're right. You're all right. Let's open this up in... I use Pixelmator. I'm not a Photoshop guy. I like Pixelmator. It was $20 when I bought it and worth every penny. So already Pixelmator, when it opened up the PDF, got rid of that white for me, which I'm happy about. And then I want to get rid of this whole logo and all this. I just want this city to exist here. And I might end up trying to crop out some of this stuff. And I don't know if my eraser tool will work, but we'll see. So first of all, I'm going to get a brush and sample my color of this green that's out there. I'm going to make the brush, a little bigger, like that big, and I'm just going to paint this out. Opacity, give me everything. Why is it not giving me, I want full on, just give me a normal basic, hard basic. There we go. That's what I want. No foolishness. So I'm painting out the Surgeon General's warning. That doesn't seem that important, does it? I'm sure if it were important, they would have put it somewhere else. Get rid of this UPC. And then, bless their hearts, I'm getting rid of the logo. And it's really convenient that this whole graphic is flat green. If there were any sort of gradient to this backdrop, this would get a lot harder. To the point where I might key it out and replace the whole thing. But now we've got this real simple thing, and I'm going to actually take the bucket of paint, use the same green, and just fill in that border. Oops, found one more little piece of logo. So now we've got this floating city. Just for fun, I don't know if we're going to go through with this, but I want to bring out... This is where Pixelmator shines, this repair tool. Let's see if I can get rid of where it says Modern Brewery. What does that do? That's pretty impressive. I don't know why. Okay. So I'm going to bring the brush size up a little bit and just wipe this out. And that's pretty good. get rid of that. Get rid of this. This one I might struggle with a little bit. Okay, so not ideal back in there. Maybe I'll leave the One Modern Brewery logo. Can I get rid of the F? That looks okay. Hopefully this will be on screen for just long enough where no one's really going to know. Like when you look at this, yeah, these windows are slightly messed up here. I don't think that's a huge deal. And actually, if I really wanted to, I could just, it doesn't look like there's a lot of scale there. Okay. We'll clone stamp it. Fine. Grab that. And what are we looking at? Like that. So close. We need the softness down, the brush size down a little bit. And we'll zoom in. If you wanted to watch the sausage get made, this is it. This is sausage making. But now we can paint this a little bit. Now we get some harder windows. It's still, No, that's making it worse. I don't like that. So there is a bit of a translation there. Show me the whole thing. We'll get rid of, okay. That's what we're going with. Let's see if we can get away with this for the time being. Get out of there. So hopefully people will focus on this and not these few little imperfections in here. We're full steam ahead, okay? Export this PNG. Now this we can bring back into Final Cut, and this we will put in here. Delete this old PDF, and now let's play with this a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is switch this to fill, which is close, but man, this really looks ugly over there now. I don't know if I can get away with it. Let's see here. Affinity Film Designer. The joy of painting with Sean. Yeah, so I'm just playing with this here, and now I can't unsee this, but I'm wondering if I can take this whole thing, and if I zoom in a little bit, what I want to happen in this is I just want to see it go by. I want to see more of it in a moment than I would be able to see otherwise. And I think if I had like a layered Photoshop file of all these buildings where I could sort of push in on it with a parallax, I think that would be neat, but I don't. But the other thing I'm going to do here, because this is all green, this is going to help me immensely. I'm going to come into my generators. I'm going to do a custom generator, put this underneath. So this is just a colored bar, essentially, a colored box that I can do anything with. And I'm going to make this box the same green as everything else. So now we have this floating city on the hill. And so this, I can zoom in a little bit until it fills the screen and no more. Slide this down just a little bit. And we'll set a keyframe at the end here for that. Keyframe. And I think we can just pull out to that maybe a little bit. Let me set another keyframe, and we'll just push in. Okay, so A, that's way too long, and that's fine. I basically just want this part of it, just this end part. And maybe a little side-to-side motion would make it cool too. The problem is, man, I wish there were more. Looking at this, let's just reset the parameters on this and on this. So if we look at this, there isn't a lot of room on the sides of this thing to, like, this is where it's filling the whole screen. Even if I pull this down, we're just sort of, it's tough. There's no way to like fill this square with it without starting to cut off the letters because they're so close to here. But the height of this thing is like less than half, or almost just barely over half the height of the frame. So it's a very smushed, is the industry term, graphic. But this is why we're doing this. I'm going to come over here for a second and talk to you. The missing piece to all of these tutorials, the thing that has caused me strife as I've been trying to do these for the first time, is the concept of fake it till you make it is the solution here. But it really is like actually fake it till you make it. Or where's my book? Oh, I sent it to Sean Kirkland. I have a book by Austin Kleon that I love called Steal Like an Artist. And it's about, it's okay to steal ideas, because when you steal an idea as an artist, the way you implement it is inherently different than the way that the original artist would implement it. And so through emulating other people and through sort of stealing 2 or 3 people's ideas, you mush those together in a way that's unique to you, and that becomes your style. And then you continue as you grow as an artist to try these things, and your style sort of starts to add these little pieces, and it pulls you in these different directions. And it's never taking you and completely putting you in a different space than you were. It's just sliding around and changing things, and that's exciting. But looking at these videos by Daniel Schiffer and Austin Paul, it's easy to say, oh, you want to spin a can, you want to key it out, boom, this is how you do it. And that's what I've done so far. And if you want to make it zoom in and fly all over the place, here's how you do that. And that's easy to do. But what they don't tell you is you still have to have this vision for the project. And so if I share this back again, yeah, we can look at this spinning can, and I know how to spin it, I know how to speed it up. And then we're looking at this logo, and this is where it really starts to show that you need the technical expertise to do these things. But what doesn't come naturally for a lot of people, myself included, and maybe especially, is there's a design element of it. There's a directing element of it where, yeah, I know how to spin this can and make it zoom in. But what I don't know how to do is think of, well, we should start with a spinning can that zooms in, not out, because here's why. It should be spinning left to right instead. And like, these are things you can start to figure out. But when you just have this blank canvas, you say, oh, I'm going to do a product video. It's really tough to say, okay, I'm going to do a product video. We're going to have cans spin up, and then other cans move by, and then this comes in, and then we'll finish on this shot. And that's really tough to have the vision for that, what that looks like, how you have variety in the shot, how you move seamlessly from one shot to another in these sequences. And so that's what I say. It really is fake it till you make it, because if you don't know what you're doing these first few times, and when I say if you don't know what you're doing, I don't know what I'm doing. These first few times, the secret really is look at a video that Daniel Schiffer made, that Austin Paul made, that, look up anybody else, look at commercials, look at a shot and say, oh, that's cool. The can like rotated in and like stopped right in front of the camera, like boom. That was cool. And write that down. Literally get a piece of paper, write that down and say can rotating into space or revolving into space, and then ending with a logo. And then you see another thing of like can centered in the frame on a tray moving through a restaurant, locked off with the camera. Cool shot. And just keep writing these things down. Make an actual list, not a mental list, an actual list somewhere of all the shots that you love. Then when it comes time to do one of these, you can look back at this list and say, oh, it'd be cool to use, of these 55 shots that I wrote down that I stole, I want to use shots 1, 9, 10, 41, and 42. And those are the shots of, okay, it's static on the tray, it's spinning and sort of falling away into space and then splashing into a pool. Whatever these things are, you can piece them together from other things, but the only place you find those, and this is where I was getting frustrated, because I was looking at this footage of the can, I'm like, I just don't know what to do with it. I don't have this vision like they do, but the truth is they've studied this. They've watched videos of this before. And so I have to start from there and say, okay, I sort of want it to look like this. I want to use a shot like that. And it's not going to be that exact same shot because A, I'm shooting it and I have my own style and lighting. And B, it's a different product and it's going to be put next to other things. It's going to be juxtaposed to different footage, which is going to change it entirely. So I wanted to say that because that has been the stumbling point. And I think in the next coming weeks, I'm going to make a video sort of summarizing these past few live streams of how to light it, how to do it, how to get into product videography for real, because it is not simple. It is not simple at all. And when I watch these Daniel Schiffer videos, he's like, oh yeah, you just want to make a commercial? Here, take a screenshot of a FaceTime, and in the background of your girlfriend's video, you can see a can. That's what we're going to use. And then it looks like this, and it looks like a Super Bowl commercial. Instead of that, I think my advice would be you got to approach this with some ideas at the beginning that you can use to shape a project. But if you go in with expectations that you're just going to be this visionary at the beginning, you're going to be disappointed. So it's okay to come in with a little bit of humility. So looking at this, I'm going to just do a little simple pan over this. So we already saw the can. And now we've got this Citropolis logo. I want this whole shot to be, we're at what? Less than 2 seconds there. I want this to take us to not even 4 seconds. We'll say right about 3:10. So this will be, come here. This would be 1.5 seconds, essentially, this whole shot. So it doesn't need to move a bunch. We just need to see a little bit of motion from this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and keyframe the position. Come to the end, do the same thing. And it's just going to be, we'll push in. Oh, I know what we're going to do. Okay, we're going to leave this a little long. We're going to leave this at 4 seconds. We're going to set our keyframes for this. Come back just like we were about to. Just want to select the top clip. We're going to set our keyframes there. Come to the end, set our keyframes. And I want to push in a little bit. We'll come down just a hair as we push in. Like that. So now we have this weird sort of push in, and it's sliding around a bit. Again, this is an artifact of zooming with a different anchor point than the one we're going into. But it sort of doesn't matter because I'm going to take this whole thing, make this whole thing a compound clip. Cityscape graphic. And now this thing we're going to retime. So we're going to move a little slowly here. Right about that speed. And then this last part we're just going to smush. We're going to zoom into. So again, our clip is going to end up in, well, that's too short. It's 23 seconds. We'll bring it back to that 1 second and 14 frames. But it's going to move slow and then get really fast. So let's render that out just so it plays naturally. So we're close. The problem is I don't want this to zoom even further in. Even further. Go, 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 baby. All the way to gray. There we go. Now when we come out, we're going to see, there we go. Okay, so bring up our timing again. We reset it to normal. Weird. That's not what I wanted. Okay. Thanks for hanging in and being patient. Let's see. I really like that. I've talked to Wave Soda. So here, I'll put this on the screen for everybody to read it larger than that. Oh, yeah, I saw your stuff about that, about Wave Soda. A big case of it. Yeah. Yeah, that sort of stuff. Like, when being a dad, being able to work from home, like in a pretty serious way, would be really neat. So I'm going to reset this parameter and this parameter and stretch this out. I want this to be like long. we're calling this 22 seconds. And we're going to stretch this bottom one out to match it. So now in this 22-second clip, we'll keyframe the beginning and the end here. Again, we'll zoom out just a little bit. And here I'm going to adjust the Y anchor point. So now, in theory, as we zoom more, yeah, we're not going to end up with that weird up and down motion. And again, that's because we adjusted the anchor point instead of other weird stuff. Bring this there. There we go. So that's our first keyframe. Then we'll go to the end of the clip. We'll set another keyframe on both of these. And this is just where we're going to shove in hard into the gray. Scoot this down a little bit. Okay, so now that's still too much. That's, yeah, I don't like that. Hang on. We're so close. So what I want to have happen is I want this thing to go from being zoomed out. We're just going to fly into the city, but I need to adjust it here so that I can retime it outside, and we have this sort of push on the city a little bit, and then I just want to jam into it. But it has to be done well. But again, that anchor point, okay. I figured it out. We want to go right. I want to go right into this like R here, I think. Like just above this R is where I want to be. Or do I want to go into the arch? Nope, here it is. This black space under the P. Final answer. So what I'm going to do, here we go. I am way in over my head. The first thing I'm going to do is let's reset this parameter, set our keyframe. Reset this parameter, set the keyframe. I'm going to move our anchor point until our anchor point is in that black spot. And with that black spot right by the P. That is our anchor point. And so as we zoom in and out, it's all about that black space. And that's where we're going to disappear. Good. Now we're going to switch this around. Move this a little bit. Get this back to sort of where we want it. Punch out even a little bit. Where is that, like 84%? So here we've got our city. And then where we want to go. We'll set one more keyframe on all this stuff. And this is where we're going to zoom in right into that black spot. And how far in do I have to go? 5,000. So that's what I'm looking for. So what I really want is this first part to be a little slow. And that's way too fast still. And the two things I can do about this are either stretch it out even more, and I think that's going to be the easier way to do it. So reset the parameter on the scale and the position. That's fine. So we've still got our thing centered up there, and now we're going to make this huge, and I promise this will solve our problem. So yeah, this thing is how long? 1 minute and 30 seconds now. So we really only need like 2 seconds of this to move slowly, and then we can power through the rest of it at light speed, and that's fine. So we've got it set there. Thank you. Thank you for sticking with me. Let's bring it down to like 90. We'll pull this to the floor and slide it over. And then come to the end, minus a frame. And here is where we are going to zoom to, let's call it 5,000, right into that. And can I move this just a hair to this? Okay. So we'll see if, yeah, so we're zooming into that P, but you can see we've got just 2 seconds of that. And actually, on this first keyframe, can we pull out even further and scoot it down a little bit? And now what does this look like? Yeah, so when this plays, we're just going to see it for a second there and then push in. And that is exactly what we're looking for. I think I could make this 3 minutes and it'd be even better, but there's time. What's up, Jay? Welcome. Welcome. It's crowded in here tonight, but I left you some room if you're still here. What I'm trying to get to happen is this graphic to zoom into this P forever to make our transition to black. And so I'm going to just drag this out. How far does this go? Minute 30, right? Yeah. Why does it do that? Why do you think it does that, huh? I don't like why it stops there. Why does it stop at that many seconds? That's not what's happening there. Don't care for that one bit. I don't like a problem I don't understand. Man, that is a beautiful slow crawl into that P. But I would really like this to update out here accordingly. Man, that is really frustrating. Why? Why? Fine. This, copy this, come out here, delete it, paste these things. So now we've got it. And let's turn this into a new compound clip called Cityscape Round 2. Not even close. But here, there we go. That's what we're looking for. And so this whole clip should be pretty short. And yeah, it's slow crawl into the P. I feel weird saying that. Is what we're trying to make happen here. And so now we're going to retime it. And we're just going to let it play for a second. And then about this point, we're going to blade that speed. And this part we're going to speed up to, I don't know, like 15,000. Let's start at 10,000. Okay. So we're zooming in a bit here, and then we just go into it. That's what we're looking for. Does this work? So it sort of slows down at the end, I think, as a artifact of the keyframe, but I think we're close to fine. Let's bring this source frame back just a little bit, see if we can speed the whole thing up even a little bit more. Yeah, how it slows down there I don't like. Don't like that one bit. But for the time being, we're going to leave this clip as is and say good. And I will come back and revisit this because that also isn't staying on screen long enough. We've got other things we got to do. So there's going to be 3 more shots, and these will all be much faster to put in. But if we come to take 4, I've got some close-ups of the label, I think, if I did my job right. A little bit there. I thought I had a really tight, gorgeous clip. Maybe it's in the take 3s. Oh, I sprayed it with glycerin at one point to see how that would look. I think it looks great. It was really sticky. But where, okay, here we go. Here we got a little close up of the can. And I might give this one more little spin by. We're going backwards there. But if we cut this or add that to the end of our timeline, that's 11 seconds, which is fine. So first of all, let's come to our color really quick and come down. We'll add our Sony HLG3. Before we even do anything with the color, we're going to crop that in, and then we'll come down here and go to fill. So now we're pretty close, and rather than do anything with this bottom of the can, I'm just going to bring us in a little bit and let this thing roll. And I'm going to switch the timing of this to be reversed, just so, again, we can actually read it a little bit. Reverse. And we'll speed this thing way up. Metropolis. So we're playing with it a little bit. Now, the one other thing that I think, because we have no real shots. So, okay, before the one other thing, let's do the one other thing. So here we have our pour. And I'm just going to throw this on here at the end. This is shot at 240 frames a second. We'll bring it back to HLG3. We'll set it to fill. And weird. Fit. Oh. That's the edge of my frame. That makes sense. So I can bring the Y, not the Y. Whoa. Undo that. We'll bring our X-axis to pull this thing just slightly more into frame. So I'm looking for part of this where we can just see some gorgeous beer going into this glass in super slow motion. Yeah, that's what I want to see. That from this tidal wave there, goosh, up in front, we'll cut there. And then I want one more clip when we've got a whole lot more action going on. Goosh. See those bubbles? So we got I don't yet know how we're going to go between those two clips, but those are the two clips we're going to have of the beer being poured, which will then bring us to our final shot of the cascade and doink. Can finish. So again, the first thing we'll do is change it to fill and pop our real color on there. And since we don't see in this clip, I mean, you can see it's pouring in there at the top a little bit, but it's not essential and it takes too long. I think we'll just go with this, like, we'll see the beer crest and see that put down the end. And we really lock our focus here at the end of the clip. And so at about this point, we'll blade the speed and we'll just speed that up a little bit so it pushes in a little faster. Just a little bit. And then we'll come to our, where's our logo? Modern logo type. Add this to the end. We can't see this right now because it is black on black. But do we have a negative effect? Stylize. How about negative? Negative. So let's turn black to white. We'll shrink this down a little bit. We only need a little bit of it. And we'll add a couple keyframes on the scale and the position. Come to the end, add one more to the scale. And so I'm just going to have this go from 74 to like 79, just so in this little moment here, It's just growing on screen just that much. So we've got a 14-second ad here with a few different clips in it. And I think it needs some work. Well, it obviously needs some work. But I'm only going to doctor it a little bit more before we call it a night. Love how the beer illuminates as the bubbles rise. Yeah, I like that too. I was struggling because it was too brightly lit until the beer was poured into it because there's just a light behind the glass. And other than like slowly moving a light up to follow the pour, it was tough to not just see that light until the beer was past it. I don't know what to do about that. Adgon asks, are you using pixel film plugins? If so, are you on an M1 Mac? Or they don't work well with it, so that's why I never went for them. I do use Pixel Film Studio plugins. I've got Auto Tracker, Photo Depth, Pro VCR. Oh, looks like nothing's there because I was searching. I had to go through and reinstall things once they've made them. They've been updating like for free. If you bought it when they're ready for M1, they update. And I live and die by the titles. What is it? Pro Sidebar Bold. Where are you? Pro Third Basics Pro. There is text overlays. This Pixel Film Studios plugin for text I use so much because I have absolutely no grasp of design as far as like how words should look on a screen. Like I have to use plugins because I can't picture it. And so they have so many options here that are customizable. This is not an ad or anything, but yes, these all work on my M1 iMac. And I use these all the time, and it's a Pixel Film Studio plugin. So in the first draft that I showed a little bit ago of this video where it said pineapple and grapefruit over the clips, those are Pixel Film Studio plugins that are doing those titles. So worked out well. Good question. Yeah, they weren't working when I first switched to my M1 Mac, and I had to write them, and then they were quick to send me because I'd used all my downloads already because I'd gotten too many computers. And so they were very nice about resetting my download count and letting me use that stuff. So all in all, I think this is decent as far as these things are concerned. The one other thing that I might want to do, and I don't exactly know how to do it in here, and I might need to go into Motion to get it done. But the other thing I was thinking of was taking the spinning can. Let's just move this. Let's do it. Let's move it to the end for a second. Pull this down. And to take this can, and let's reset the parameters on it. So now I just have this boring spinning can. To take this, and we will shrink it way down. Like so. And duplicate it. And move it. Let's keep that. Sorry. Move it over like this, and then rotate it 180 degrees, and then duplicate that guy and do the same thing on the other side. How far was that over? Negative 261.8. And this should be 261.8. There we go. Doesn't look great. But if we keep doing this, and if we take these three and duplicate them, I'm just going to do this over here. Pull that up. Come on. Oops. Why won't you let me do this? Pull this up on top of, what the heck? I am unhappy and frustrated right now. I would like to drag these clips on top of one another. But stand with me for a moment. What if we take this one? Can we do one at a time? Oh, we have to do them one at a time. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'm okay with that. All right, now we'll take these top three and change their y-axis so that they're all the way up here. And then do this again. All right, option click and go even higher. Pull this one down just to keep things straight. And then on these, we'll pull all the way down to here. And then we can take this whole massive clip of things, new compound clip, can montage. So now we've got this can montage clip, and we can take this, keyframe it, and zoom in a little bit, and then come to the end of the clip and zoom out to where we're filling more of the screen. I guess I should go wider than just the three, but we'll say it goes to there. And now there's me talking in the background. Okay, so that looks kind of neat. Render that up. Think, computer, think. What's happening over here? Nothing. Cool. So yeah, I could see this if we add more and more, like I think if we add that fourth row, fourth and fifth row on either side, it'll look a little neater. Or riddle me this. What if we take this whole thing and rotate it 90 degrees? Now that looks neat. Come back here, and we can take this final one and zoom out even a little more. So I guess it's a square. That didn't actually help anything. So that's the other thing I want to play with. So if we have these isolated cans, can we take them and make it seem like a million cans? And what starts to be weird here is the lighting on them, because it's directional lighting. When you see them all bouncing around, you can see like this one's lit from the top, this one's lit from the bottom, because it's rotated 180 degrees. And so it's a little weird, but I think it would be abstract, and no one's going to really think that would look like that. But a cool way to do it would also be to shoot it in both ways, knowing you're going to do it like this. Shoot it with the light on one side of the can, shoot it with light on the other, and then rotate one of them and build this tile. I think would be a cool way to do it. So I think I'm going to take these pieces here, edit it together with a little bit of music, maybe get rid of this shot, play with this a little bit more. And I think if I put this at the beginning, it'll be less jarring than starting with a real shot of a can and then going to the animated version. But that's where we're going to leave it. It's been a productive evening, and our next step is to listen to a bunch of music and pick the right thing, and then add a couple transitions. So in the next few days, hopefully I'll finish this and post this in some way where you all can comment and praise it and fill me with the validation. It's been a long stream, hour and 13 minutes, okay? It's been work. This is what work looks like. Thank you for watching. Thanks for being a part of this. If you're rewatching this and you somehow made it this deep into the stream, I sincerely thank you for doing that. This is kind of crazy. And to have the support to try these things and to do it in a way that earns a teeny tiny, and I mean like 40 cents of YouTube ad revenue, that's still 40 cents. And that means something to me. So thank you for being a part of this and supporting the channel. Justin, especially, and Jay, good to see you. And Adgon, wherever you went, I hope you find the answer to your question. And if not, I'll see if I can leave a comment in an actual text comment that you get a notification for. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.